So I'm gonna be discussing lesson 19 now. Um, Creating and reading your models. And basically what we covered was constructing a model creation form, saving users to your database from the browser, and displaying associated models in a view. Um, so did that using GET requests and POST requests, and also still, using the data in our database as well. So gonna start by user.js in our models. So I discussed this as well before, how creating the user model using schema. As you can see, the name, email, zip code, password, subscribed account, courses, and yeah, that's the schema. And then the virtual property as well here. And we went on to add this function. So this is a Mongoose middleware function. It runs before a user document is saved to the MongoDB database. Hence why we use pre, which is a function. So what this function does is it registers a pre-saved hook middleware for the user schema. So basically it's basically saying that this function must run, right? First before we save a user's document to the MongoDB database. That's what this pre function does. So yeah, as you can see, pre here, and then pass save there, and we have this callback function where basically this, which is referring to, say, the user document that's created from the instance, is stored in user, right? This variable. And then it goes on here and says that if the user dot subscribed account is undefined. So if the subscribed account for the specific user that is saved here, if that subscribed account is undefined, what we're going to do is we're going to use find one. So subscriber dot find one to basically find that specific subscriber, right? By linking this email over here with this email. So once that subscriber is found, then this promise is executed with this callback function, where subscriber as a parameter stores the document of that subscriber that was found using find one. And then the callback function basically is taking subscriber and assigning it to the subscribed account for that specific user. Now subscribed account basically won't be undefined because it's now containing the object ID of that specific subscriber. And then next is saying we must go to the next middleware function. Then the catch block is just basically logging an error if this is not executed. So that's basically how that works. And then this is basically the name of the model. Then in my main.js, right? If I quickly go to my front end, let's see. Okay. So in my main.js, I basically have these routes that were created, right? So as we can see here, routes.get, let me discuss the users actually. So here we have router.get users new. This is a URL, and it uses this function, the new function from the user controller. So I'm just gonna basically discuss how this get request works when we access this link, and how the function is executed, and how it's presented in the front end, and it shows the new user and creating a new user in the front end, and it being added to the database as well. So as soon as a user accesses this link, user.user/new, what happens is a get request is sent to the server. Then this new function this function named new is executed, and that is in this user's controller. So when I go to my user's controller, this function is basically executed. Well, this method, let me say, is executed as soon as that get request is made, where specific response is given from the server to the front end. That response is a render, and we're basically rendering users new, which is basically referring to let's see, this EJS template, which is for the front end, new. So this is basically rendered as a response after that whole request is made and that function is triggered. So it shows that it's a page that takes us to, it's a link that takes us to a page where we can create a new user by filling in the first name, last name, email, password, zip code, and then signing in. And that's basically the structure of the model that we discussed as well, right? Which shows name, last name, first name, email, zip code, password. So that's basically what's passed to the front end when that get request is made. So this is basically what's passed to the front end as a response when we access this link. And then I can go ahead and basically create a new user, right? And that's where the post request comes in. So let's go back to the main.js. In this next line of code, this is my post request, specifically for filling in that form to create a new user and submitting that form, right? As soon as I fill in that form and submit that form, post request is made to this URL, users create. Once that is done, basically this create function in my users controllers is executed, as well as this redirect view function in users controller is also executed. So in users controller, this is the create function that's executed, as you can see over here. So basically what this is, this create method basically has a callback function with request, response, and next as parameters. So we know that when that post request is made, a request is made, right? And over here we have user params, which takes the name, first and last name, right, as bodies. Then the email, right, as a body as well, password as a body, zip code as a body, right? This is for when we create that new user. So when we fill in the form, it takes those bodies over here. Then we have user.create, right? This basically, here there's user params, and it's a parameter for the user, basically, right? So over here, this then promise has user as a parameter in this callback function, which will take the user params, right? So basically, in other words, the user params in this case is basically referring to the, you can say, the ID for the user specifically, in order to access the user's, that's a specific user's account, right? Or to create a specific user's account. So then here is just saying it's gonna redirect to the user's page, and here we're just storing user in response locals user, right? So as a response, what will be shown in the front end is the user's details, right? After we create or make that post request. Then next is called, which takes us to the next middleware, where this is just a cache block that logs an error if this is not executed. Then there's the redirect view, which has response and next as parameters in this callback function. And res.locals redirect is stored in the redirect path variable, and it's saying if redirect path, then res.redirect this. So then it will just redirect us to that specific page after creating a subscriber. So to show that it works, I can go ahead and create a subscriber with a different password. And add a zip code. And when you sign in, it then takes me to this page, the users table, which shows the subscriber over here that I just created, and that subscriber is also added to the database. Doesn't show. Let's see. Oh, here. So I was looking in subscribers. The user, let me say. So I was referring to it as a subscriber. The user that we created is stored over here, basically. So, yeah. That's basically a summary of lesson 19. Using get and post requests and the user model as well to create a new user and add them to the database in the front end.